There is something about the early morning hours, those moments when the world is still, cloaked in silence, when the hum of life has quieted, and only the faintest sounds of the night remain. It is in these hours, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., that many find themselves stirred awake, not by the demands of the day, not by restless thoughts, but by something deeper, something sacred. Could it be that God Himself is calling? This is the time when distractions fall away. The noise of the world, the rush of responsibilities, the constant flood of voices demanding attention, all are hushed. It is in this silence that God speaks most clearly. The soul, so often caught in the whirlwind of daily life, finally has space to listen. When He wakes you at this hour, it is not by accident. It is an invitation, a whisper from eternity calling you into communion with the divine. The world is never truly silent, but there are moments when it comes close. In the early hours of the morning, between the fading whispers of the night and the first breath of dawn, there exists a sacred stillness. It is a time untouched by the demands of the day, unclaimed by the chaos of life. The world sleeps, and in that sleep a certain peace settles over everything. In these hours, when all is hushed and the noise of existence fades into a gentle still, the soul finds itself more awake than ever. There is something profound about waking in the early hours, stirred not by obligation but by something unseen. The distractions that so often pull the mind in 100 different directions have not yet begun their work. The responsibilities, the worries, the endless cycle of tasks that fill the daylight hours have yet to rise. In that moment, when all is still, the heart has space to listen. And perhaps that is why the early hours are so often a time when the divine speaks. It is no coincidence that throughout history the seekers of truth, the prophets, the mystics and the faithful, have found their holiest moments in the quiet before dawn. It is in these hours that one can hear not just with the ears, but with the soul. The distractions that cloud the senses throughout the day have loosened their grip, and in that newfound clarity something deeper can be felt. The voice of God, so often drowned out by the rush of life, becomes unmistakable. There is a reason the dawn is often associated with new beginnings. It is the hour of renewal, the moment when darkness gives way to light. And yet there is something even more sacred in the hours just before, when the world still lingers in quiet, when the first golden hints of morning have not yet broken through. This is the moment of anticipation, the time when one stands on the threshold between what was and what will be. It is in these hours that the heart is most receptive, most willing to surrender to something greater than itself. Many have experienced it, the sudden waking, the sense that something is calling. Not a restless night, not a troubling thought, but an awareness that goes beyond explanation. It is as though the soul itself has been stirred, as though something unseen has reached out and beckoned it to rise. And in that moment, there is a choice. One can roll over, dismiss it as nothing, return to the comfort of sleep, or one can listen. One can lean into the stillness, embrace the quiet, and see what is waiting there. For those who choose to listen, the rewards are immeasurable. There is a clarity in these hours that cannot be found at any other time. The mind, free from the distractions of the day, is open in a way that is rare. The heart, unburdened by the noise of life, is more willing to receive. The presence of God, which is always there but so often hidden beneath the layers of daily existence, feels suddenly near. It is a moment of communion, an opportunity to speak, to listen, to simply be in the presence of something greater. In these early hours, prayer takes on a different weight. It is not rushed, not forced, not spoken out of habit or obligation. It flows naturally, effortlessly, from the depths of the soul. There is no need for elaborate words, no pressure to say the right thing. In this stillness, honesty comes easily. It is a time to pour out the heart, to lay down burdens, to seek guidance, to offer gratitude. And in return there is peace, a peace that is not dependent on circumstances, not dictated by the chaos of the world, but a peace that comes from simply being in the presence of the divine. It is in these hours that revelations come, not in the form of grand visions or thundering voices, but in the quiet certainty that one is not alone. A sudden clarity, an unexpected answer, a gentle reassurance that all is well. Sometimes it is simply the feeling of being seen, of being known, of being held in a love that is greater than anything the world can offer. These are the moments that sustain the soul, that carry it through the trials of the day, that anchor it in something eternal. And yet this sacred stillness is not reserved for the few. It is not only for the prophets, the mystics, or the deeply devout. It is there for all who seek it. It is there for the weary, the broken, the searching. It is there for the ones who have questions, and for the ones who have none but simply long to be near to God. It is an open invitation, a gift given freely, waiting only to be received. Many will sleep through these hours, unaware of the treasure they hold, and yet, for those who wake, for those who listen, for those who embrace the stillness, there is something indescribable waiting. It is a moment outside of time, a glimpse of something eternal, a whisper of the divine. And once it has been experienced, once the soul has known what it is to meet God in the silence before dawn, it will never again be content with noise. There are moments in life when everything slows down. When the rush of the day fades, the weight of responsibilities lifts, and something within urges us to pause. These moments are not accidental. They are invitations, whispers from something greater, calling us to turn inward, to reflect, to step away from the clamor of the world and enter a space where the soul can breathe. This is the sacred call to deep reflection and prayer, a call that comes not with force, but with gentle persistence, waiting for us to heed its voice. In the busyness of life, it is easy to move from one task to another, filling every hour with noise, every moment with something to do. The mind is constantly occupied, the hands are always at work, and the heart is rarely still. And yet, in the midst of all this motion, there is something within that longs for more. Not more activity, not more achievement, but more meaning, more connection, more depth. This longing is not a weakness. It is a sign of the soul's hunger for something beyond itself. To reflect deeply is to acknowledge that life is more than a series of tasks to complete or problems to solve. It is to recognize that beneath the surface of daily existence, there is a deeper story unfolding, one that is shaped not just by what we do, but by who we are becoming. Reflection allows us to step outside the routine and ask the questions that truly matter. What is guiding my choices? What am I pursuing? What is shaping my heart? Without these moments of pause, it is too easy to drift, to move through life without ever truly understanding where we are going or why. Prayer is the natural companion to reflection. If reflection allows us to look within, prayer allows us to reach beyond. It is not just speaking words into the air. It is an opening of the soul to the one who created it. Prayer is not about perfect words or rehearsed phrases. It is about honesty. It is about coming before God with all that we are, without pretense or performance, and laying everything at his feet, the joys, the fears, the uncertainties, the hopes. Prayer is where they all find their place. There are times when words come easily in prayer, when gratitude spills forth effortlessly, when praise feels as natural as breathing. But there are also times when prayer feels heavy, when the weight of life makes it difficult to speak, when all one can do is sit in silence, waiting for something, anything, to break through. And yet, even in that silence, prayer is at work. It is in those quiet moments that God speaks the loudest, not in thunder or in fire, but in the still, small voice that can only be heard when everything else is quiet. True prayer is not a transaction. It is not about asking for things and waiting for them to appear. It is a relationship, a conversation, a space where the soul meets the divine. It is where burdens are lifted, where strength is renewed, where clarity is given. It does not always change circumstances immediately, but it always changes the one who prays. It softens the heart, realigns the priorities, and brings peace where there was once unrest. The greatest transformations in life do not happen in moments of chaos. They happen in moments of stillness. They happen in those quiet encounters when the soul is willing to listen, when the heart is open enough to receive. Prayer and reflection are not interruptions to life. They are the foundation of it. Without them, one may move through the world efficiently, but not meaningfully. One may achieve success, but without peace. As we face a major crisis, one may have knowledge, but without wisdom. There is a reason why the call to prayer and reflection never truly fades. It is always present, gently pressing on the heart, waiting to be answered. The world may offer distractions, responsibilities may demand attention, but the soul will never be satisfied until it has found what it is truly seeking. And what it seeks is not found in more doing, more striving, more achieving. It is found in those quiet moments, in that sacred stillness, where reflection leads to understanding and prayer leads to presence. To ignore this call is to miss something vital. It is to live on the surface of life without ever exploring its depths. But to answer it, to take the time to reflect, to pray, to listen, is to step into something greater. It is to discover that in the stillness, in the quiet, in the openness of a heart willing to seek, God is waiting, always closer than one ever imagined. There are moments in life when something within us stirs, when we sense a presence beyond the visible, when our hearts are more aware, more open, more attuned to the unseen. These moments are not random. They are invitations. They are the quiet whispers of eternity calling us to pay attention, to listen more deeply, to recognize that there is more to this life than what our eyes perceive. This is the time of spiritual sensitivity, a sacred season in which the soul stands at the threshold of deeper understanding, waiting to step into something greater. Spiritual sensitivity does not arrive with great fanfare. It is not marked by flashing lights or dramatic signs. Rather, it comes in stillness, in gentle nudges, in moments of quiet revelation that catch us off guard. It may come in a sunrise that feels different than any before, in a conversation that leaves a deep impression, in the way a simple phrase in a book suddenly speaks to the depths of the heart. It is the awareness that something is shifting, that something beyond the material world is moving, shaping, calling. For many, this heightened sensitivity comes during times of change, when life is uncertain, when an old chapter is closing and a new one is yet to begin. It is in these moments that the soul becomes more receptive, more eager to grasp meaning, more willing to lean into the unknown. It is no coincidence that the greatest awakenings often come in seasons of difficulty. When life is predictable, when everything is in order, the need to listen is easily ignored. But when the ground beneath our feet is unsteady, when questions arise, and the usual answers no longer suffice, we begin to seek with a new intensity. and in that seeking we become more aware. Spiritual sensitivity is both a gift and a responsibility. A gift because it opens the eyes to a reality that many pass by without noticing. A responsibility because it requires something of us. It is not enough to feel the stirring and do nothing with it. Awareness demands action. When the heart begins to sense a deeper calling, it is not meant to be ignored or pushed aside in favor of daily distractions. It is meant to be followed, explored, nurtured. There is a reason why the still, quiet hours of the night often bring these moments of deep awareness. When the noise of the day fades, when the world slows down, the soul finally has space to listen. How many times has someone woken in the early hours, sensing something unexplainable, a presence, a prompting, an urgency to pray? It is in these moments that the unseen becomes more tangible, when the whispers of God are more clearly heard. And yet too often people dismiss these moments as mere restlessness, as an inconvenience rather than an invitation. Spiritual sensitivity also sharpens the way we see others. Suddenly, we notice things we previously overlooked. A stranger's burden becomes clearer. A friend's unspoken pain becomes more obvious. Compassion grows, not because we have suddenly become better people, but because we are seeing with new eyes. Eyes that are no longer clouded by selfish concerns, but are tuned to something greater. This awareness moves us beyond mere observation. It calls us to act, to love more deeply, to extend grace where we once withheld it. This heightened awareness is not meant to be a passing experience, something that fades when life returns to normal. It is meant to transform. It is meant to draw one closer to the source of all wisdom, to cultivate a life that is rooted in something eternal rather than fleeting. It is meant to shape decisions, to refine priorities, to reorder the heart so that it is aligned not with the temporary, but with the lasting. And yet spiritual sensitivity is fragile. It can be dulled, ignored, drowned out by the demands of the world. If not nurtured, it fades. The same heart that was once open and eager to listen can become distracted, preoccupied, indifferent. This is why it must be guarded, tended to like a flame that must not be allowed to go out. It must be fed with stillness, with prayer, with a willingness to seek even when the answers are not immediate. Those who embrace this time of spiritual awareness will find that it changes everything. It deepens faith, strengthens purpose, and brings a peace that is not dependent on circumstances. It provides clarity where there was once confusion, direction where there was once aimlessness. It draws the heart closer to the divine, not in a way that is forced or artificial, but in a way that feels as natural as breathing. This is the time of spiritual sensitivity, a sacred season of awakening. It is a gift, a call, an opportunity. And for those who are willing to listen, who are willing to step into the unknown and embrace what is being revealed, it is the beginning of something extraordinary. There comes a time in every journey when the road ahead is unclear. The familiar landmarks disappear, the old certainties fade, and the heart longs for direction. It is in these moments, when all distractions are stripped away, that revelation is most often given. Not in a flood of overwhelming answers, not in a spectacle of noise, but in the quiet, in the stillness, in the sacred space where the soul becomes ready to listen. A moment of revelation is not the product of mere wishful thinking. It is not something we manufacture by sheer effort or force of will. Rather, it comes when we reach the end of what we know and open ourselves to something greater. It is that instant when the tangled thoughts and restless searching give way to something clear, something undeniable, something that was always present but could not be seen until now. And once it is seen, it cannot be unseen. There are times when revelation comes unexpectedly, as though heaven itself has pierced through the veil of uncertainty and placed an answer directly in our path. But more often, it is a gradual unfolding, a realization that comes not in a single moment, but through a series of small nudges, each one leading closer to the truth. It may come through a conversation that lingers in the mind long after it ends, through a passage read at just the right time, through the quiet conviction that settles deep within. And when it arrives, it does not bring confusion or fear. It brings clarity. But revelation alone is not enough. Knowing the path is one thing, having the courage to walk it is another. Direction is the gift that follows revelation, the movement that turns insight into action. There is a danger in waiting too long, in hesitating when the way forward has already been made clear. Fear whispers that more certainty is needed, that another sign must be given, that the perfect conditions must first be in place. But true direction does not come with the promise of ease. It comes with the promise of purpose. It is not given to those who demand absolute certainty before taking the first step. It is given to those who are willing to trust. The greatest moments of transformation in life do not happen when everything is going according to plan. They happen when something breaks, when something shifts, when a door closes and another stands waiting to be opened. It is in these moments that we are forced to pause, to reconsider, to ask the questions we have been avoiding. And if we are willing to listen, if we are willing to set aside our need for control and simply be present, we will find that direction has already been placed before us. We were simply too distracted to see it. Too often, people search for answers in the wrong places. They look for revelation in noise, in endless movement, in the approval of others. They seek direction from everything except the one who has already written the path before them. But revelation does not come through striving, it comes through surrender. It comes when we are willing to let go of our own agendas, our own expectations, and allow wisdom to unfold as it was always meant to. There is something sacred about a moment of revelation. It is a reminder that we are not alone, that we are not wandering without purpose, that there is meaning woven into even the most confusing seasons of life. It is an invitation to trust, to step forward, to embrace the unknown with the confidence that we are being led, even when we cannot yet see the full picture. And so, when the moment arrives, when the whisper of revelation breaks through the uncertainty, when the path forward begins to take shape, do not turn away from it. Do not dismiss it as coincidence or doubt it into silence. Instead, embrace it, hold on to it, walk forward with the certainty that this is not just another passing thought, but a divine invitation to step into something greater than what was left behind. There comes a moment in every journey when the weight of uncertainty presses too heavily upon the soul. The plans we have carefully crafted begin to unravel. The paths we once walked with confidence now seem unclear, and the answers we once held tightly slip through our grasp. It is in these moments, when control is slipping away, that we are faced with a choice: to fight against the uncertainty, desperately grasping for something to hold on to, or to surrender and trust that there is a purpose beyond what we can see. Surrender is not weakness, it is not resignation, nor is it the abandoning of responsibility. Rather, it is the quiet acknowledgement that there is a wisdom greater than our own, a plan unfolding beyond our understanding. It is the recognition that the one who set the stars in place, who breathed life into the very depths of existence, has not lost sight of us. The hands that formed the universe are the same hands that guide, sustain, and uphold us, even when we feel lost. Trust is not born in the easy seasons of life. It is forged in uncertainty, in the moments when nothing makes sense, when the path forward is obscured, and we are left with nothing but faith. It is easy to trust when everything is going according to plan, when the sun is shining and the road is smooth. But real trust, the kind that transforms, the kind that leads to something greater, comes when we step forward even when we cannot see the ground beneath our feet. It comes when we release our grip on the illusion of control and place our confidence not in our own ability, but in the one who has never failed. Surrender is not simply letting go. It is actively placing our lives in the hands of the divine. It is choosing to believe that even when we do not understand, there is a purpose at work. It is refusing to be consumed by fear, refusing to let doubt dictate our steps, and instead walking forward in faith. Surrender does not mean that the road will always be easy, that there will be no trials, no moments of difficulty, but it does mean that we will never walk that road alone. The greatest peace is not found in certainty but in trust. The human heart longs for security, for guarantees, for the assurance that everything will work out exactly as planned. But the most beautiful moments of life are often those we never could have anticipated. The turns in the road that we did not see coming. The unexpected doors that open when another closes. When we surrender our need to control every outcome, we open ourselves to something far greater than we could ever create on our own. Trust does not mean passivity. It does not mean sitting back and waiting for everything to be handed to us. It means walking forward with confidence, even when the path is unclear. It means making decisions, taking risks, embracing the unknown with the knowledge that we are not alone. It means surrendering not to fear, but to faith. And so the invitation stands, to surrender, to trust, to release the need for certainty, and instead embrace the journey with open hands. It is not an easy invitation to accept. It requires courage. It requires faith. But for those who are willing, for those who dare to let go of control and trust in something greater, the reward is immeasurable. It is the peace that surpasses understanding, the strength that carries through every storm, the unshakable certainty that no matter what lies ahead, we are held.